Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures, and then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it. So let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. How prepared was Belmont Pines Hospital for a riot? Brandon Cantwell has a report published March 12th focusing on the riots that took place at Belmont Pines. Now, it appears that children ranging from age 11 to 15 assaulted several staff members and could be criminally charged. Now, the report goes on to say that a staff member, Carl Stinnett, he pleaded otherwise, said he didn't want him charged in what appears to be his defense of the kids, citing behavioral problems as a factor that should be considered instead of charges. Now, the article mentions several solutions, but really emphasizes training as a factor at the facility. Now, the article succeeds at bringing the reader into comprehending why these children would decide to riot It talks about it from an employee's and owner's perspective. Now, this story is still developing. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. A local community makes the top 10 list. WFMJ has a report on how Travel and Leisure magazine will be including Hermitage on a list of best places to retire in the Northeast due to its low taxes and affordable housing. Now, the list was compiled using data from Investopedia, which focused on the cost of living for 2 adults, housing, transportation, healthcare, taxes, access to arts, culture, and major airports, as stated in the report. So that's what the Investopedia, that's what they looked at when they made this top 10 list. Now, Hermitage has a median home value of $153,600 and healthcare. They have healthcare through 11 hospitals and 276 healthcare establishments in Mercer County. That's why story number 2 made it this week, because Hermitage made it to the top 10 most of the best living places. Big. Story number 3. A first for McDonald residents. Bob Coupland has a report published March 10th in what appears to be a first in the village's history. That's his village of McDonald. Now, the article states that residents will be required to start paying for trash collection. It's never been done. Now, the article cites increasing costs as the main factor and the fact that funds are limited in the village's general budget. Now, residents will be paying between $45 to $50 on a quarterly basis beginning in August or September. Story number 3 made it. Story number 4. Austintown residents feel the rate increases, especially when it comes to energy costs. Dan Pompley has a headline published March 8th in what appears to be more local rate increases when it comes to energy. Now, Austintown plans to find salespeople that will bring some recommendations to the township residents so they can take the best offer when it comes to that energy bill, when it comes to electricity and gas. Now, the article goes on to explain how some other communities have already started addressing the rate increase problem, thus getting this story into the top 8. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. Liberty's finances. Brandon Cantwell has a report published March 12th focusing on Liberty's finances. The article explains how Liberty has about $6 million on hand. The article credits the ARP, American Rescue Plan funds, for keeping their community budget in order. This is the case for not only Liberty, but a number of other communities' budgets as well, especially Youngstown. Now, that's what got this story into the top 8. Story number 5. Big. Story number 6. The 2025 budget concerns continue. JT Whitehouse has a report out of Canfield explaining how City Council is making budget plans. Now, the report is brief and mainly focuses on department needs. Now, the planning portion is what has stories like these trending and making headlines, because just about every local district right now is making plans to do more with less. That means make cuts because the costs just keep rising and taxpayers are drained. Folks, budget stories are staying alive. That's why number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you don't get up this early, you can check out the show. I do upload it to the website's YouTube page. So you go to the website on the screen and you can check the show out. I upload it on Mondays. That's after the show airs on Sunday. So if you don't get up this early, you want to catch the top 8 a day later, you can go to the website on the screen. Story number 7, sad news for downtown courthouse. David Skolnick has a report published March 6 with some sad news for the Jones Federal Building in downtown Youngstown, which is on a list of 443 targeted properties for potential closure or sale due to Trump's continued push to downsize the federal government. Now, the report labels the property as underused and a waste of taxpayer dollars, saving more than $430 million in annual operating costs. Now, the building was built in 2002 and houses U.S. Bankruptcy Court, the IRS, the U.S. Marshal Service, and GSA, and was named after Nathaniel R. Jones, who served as a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 6th Circuit and spent more than 10 years as the general counsel of the NAACP. He was a native of Youngstown and died in 2020. That's why story number 7 made it to the top this week. Almost made it to the top this week. Big. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week for you to keep you informed. You know, sometimes I look at the show over the weeks and I do see sometimes that I do make some mistakes, but like I said, nothing is perfect, but I do my best to try to make sure that the show is run cheaply and efficiently so I can be in here every week. And if you do want the show to show some support, it does not take much. I do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop by the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face or shake my hand, do whatever you feel. Story number 8, audits, a topic of discussion in Youngstown. David Skolnick has a report published March 6 in what appears to be more discussions about state audits for the Youngstown police and fire departments due to high overtime costs. Now, the report echoes the continued emphasis that 15 police officers ranked in about $50,000 in overtime pay, $50,000. Wow. Now, efficiency seems to be the main concern due to the fact that just about every local district is tightening the belt when it comes to spending, folks. Some even got some tax levies turned down, so they are counting pennies, folks. This story is still developing. That's a story made it to the top this week. Well, folks, there are top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com.
What does Method8inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Aunt Tasha, she said that you can be dumb and still make a lot of money.
Don't be deceived, okay? Just get the work done. Get your work done, graduate, you'll be successful. Don't be deceived. I told you that. Now hit the books.
Mom's not coming back, is she, Dad?
What test scores again?
Every teacher is in here day and night, and it's not our fault.
Uriah aced her random proficiency test because you helped her. She's the first student in the city's district to ace that test.
So did he pay?
No, who only paid half?
Apply the pressure.
Hey, get that mess out of here!
They didn't do Titi. I'm going to Puerto Rico. Me voy a Puerto Rico, Titi. Cálmate. Calm down. ¿Cómo querés que me calme? How am I calm down? You had us come here, Titi. How can I protect myself? That's all I need for you to help me with. How do I protect myself?
Oh, they're not going to hurt you.
If this is what I get for being a good student and acing a test, I'd rather have failed.
I never told you that being good would be easy.
Clear target, cannot miss.
Home for his little girl. Take me.
They're in danger.
I won't tell you how this is going to end, Laura, but my history professor once told me, in order to prevent a genocide, you first have to kill the dictator.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, we're headed into St. Patrick's Day. And, March is usually the month in the United States where you talk about luck and green. And it's just the culture that has developed over time, the Irish leprechauns. And, it makes me wonder about how the odds that people tend to face in this life. And people continue to play the lottery. And, my dad, he's always playing the lottery. I got people, friends, people I know play the lottery all the time. I remember one time I went to a fundraiser and oddly I saw one of the fundraising persons who was at the fundraiser somehow just magically showed up in the supermarket trying to play the lottery to win money. I guess that's a gimmick to fundraising. I don't know, but made me wonder about the odds of actually winning the lottery. And and then what people would do with the money. Everybody thinks that money somehow you're just going to just magically solve all their problems. And with that money, you have to know what to do with the money. So technically, if you're playing the lottery, you're just no telling what you're going to do with the money. Some people pay off their bills and then they have a little bit of money left over. Some people run into tax problems. They made to pay an accountant. So the more money you have, the more expenses you have. And sadly, when you're playing the lottery, you're putting money that you could have been putting away, maybe in investments or something that could accrue, and you're just constantly putting money into this big pool, and then it really people just don't seem to know what to do with the money. It's sad. I mean, everybody says America's like a mind game, where some people live by their means, can stay in the same spot for years, plant flowers in the backyard, plant groceries, and some people constantly want to make money. Constantly money. And sad part about money is when you put rules on it, put laws. This person can only make that much money, that person can only make that much money, and the government can only give that much money to that much money. Sad. Basically saying, like, if you play the lottery and you hit, you got about 3 years to make more money or the money gonna run out, and then you still got to pay taxes on it. So all the point is the odds. The odds of you playing the lottery can only increase if you play. The odds of you getting rich can only increase if you understand that maybe rich does not exist, or maybe it's just an idea. Because, as they would say, more money, more problems. All he wants from me is like the more money we come about, the more problems we see. B-I-D-B-O-B-B-A. So the point is, what are the odds? What are the odds? How do you increase the odds, folks? We're talking about luck this month. Let's waste no time, folks. Headed into these unsolved mysteries of mediation. How and is rich all just an illusion that we all fall for? Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Years of research and development may be gone with Fed cuts. Be rich. USA Today has a report explaining how 4 southern states ranked in the top 5 nationally, would make the top 5 nationally for their dependence on federal money. About being rich, these states Money, what happens if you take out the money? Then you'd be poor in less than a week. Now, the report goes on to explain how Trump's federal squeeze could affect Alaska, Kentucky, West Virginia, Mississippi, and even South Carolina, who all rely on federal funds. Years of research that is all tied up in the federal government that could just be halted in just one stroke of a presidential pen. But there's a fight going on, folks. That's what had the story in it. That's what has this story trending. That's what story number one made it this week. What are the odds? Big. Story number two: low-income America suffers yet again. If you haven't ventured into the slums of low-income America, then you may not be able to comprehend the most recent Bloomberg report. Now, the headline says that the first hit to low-income communities was inflation. And now, in the middle of a tariff war, the poverty-stricken part of America just can't seem to catch a break, because poverty, folks, is real. Now, some of these poverty-stricken communities are riddled with crime and drugs. Until you go into some of these neighborhoods, you will see some things, folks. And it will make you think about your stroke of luck and the odds of actually getting out, folks. Now, this story resonates because those in poverty will be hit the hardest when it comes to these cuts if things continue to be unaffordable. And they keep cutting all these programs, especially food, folks. The story is still developing. That's why story number two made it. Story number three: does an isolated America without the world mean no aid? Years of aid and research against diseases like tuberculosis could also be a concern, according to a report by AFP. Now, the article keeps the reader informed by explaining how the Trump administration's sweeping foreign aid cuts will send tuberculosis cases and deaths soaring around the world. Now, the report goes on to say that people are already dying from a lack of treatment in places like the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, this is all because Trump froze U.S. foreign aid. Now, what got the story in is the fact that 83% of all U.S. aid contracts have been canceled, thus getting the story to the top 8. That's why story number 3 made it. Story number 4: the ripple effect of Trump's tariffs they continue to be felt, and they could really put an end to somebody's good day if they let them. The Guardian has a headline explaining how the U.S. annual inflation rate in February has remained relatively stable at 2.8%. The report goes on to explain how some economists have warned that prices could rise again due to Trump's trade war. And what got the story in is, even though inflation decreased by 0.2%, talks of a recession continue to be a main concern. Now, the story is still developing because everybody is talking about the ripple effect of these tariffs and the fact that they're concerned about costs rising. But at the moment, Trump says that energy will go down and everything else will probably heal itself over time. We'll see what he has envisioned, but hope for the best here. So story number 4 made this week. Well, folks, our top 4 international headlines, developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with top 4. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, me, Brown West. I'll be right back. Tune in to Method Ace YouTube channel to check out the top interviews that made it throughout the years and months. Visit method88.com. Check out all the community interviews if you want to check it out. Method88.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week for you to keep you informed, folks. This month we're talking about luck and St. Patrick's Day weekend, and the fact that there are some people who are down on their luck right now. I mean, you know, there are cuts across the board, federal cuts, cuts to the Department of Education. I mean, everybody's slashing budgets, and people are looking at all those blessings that they may have passed in life, and some people who have already had it rough have it rougher, and it doesn't seem to be getting easier. And this is capitalism, folks. I mean, you're talking about things that were once certain at this time may not be certain, and people love certainty. Businesses go into business to make money, folks. What are the odds of the government just deciding just to get up one morning and just slash the budget, slash things, job cuts. I mean, what are the odds? One moment you wake up, you know your paycheck is coming, and the next month you're back in the private sector and you have to start all over again. You have to be normal. You know, you got high level people who probably will be thrown into the private sector, probably have to start a business up and try to find another job. And all these Americans and all these people just leaving. Now, the government is probably the most securest paycheck that you can get because they're printing the money. That means that you're guaranteed your money from the government. And some people are just panicking, you know, wondering what's going on. I mean, this is a lot of news stories. You got prices going up, so people are saying, when is this going to balance it out? You know, when am I going to feel at peace and calm? And there's some pros and cons in these stories, but just got to hope for the best. What are the odds, folks? You know, I come in here every week believing that it's going to be certain, but I have to, as I get older and time goes on, the odds grow slimmer. You know, so let's hope that I keep getting my blessings so I can bless you to be informed. Whew. I'm grateful. So I made a song. What are the odds of me being blessed? What are the odds of me being blessed? Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Speaking of odds, farmers see no easy fix in a tariff war. Forbes has a report explaining how Trump tariff aids to the farmers could again exceed U.S. nuclear weapons costs. Now, the main talking point of the report is the fact that the Chinese government's retaliatory measures against Trump tariffs could ripple into U.S. agriculture products and make U.S. farmers suffer. Now, the numbers are big. The report goes on to explain how in 2018, U.S. farmers' soybean exports to China dropped by 75%, according to the U.S. International Trade Commission. Now, what got this story in is because it keeps the attention on U.S. farming at a time when they seem to be suffering the most. That's why story number 5 made it. Story number 6, the manufacturing data. NBC News has a report focusing on how the White House is using tariffs to restore manufacturing, but the data says that it will take time. If you did not know, manufacturing jobs and infrastructure have been shrinking since the 1970s, and according to the report, it will take years to raise them back up. So the idea, I guess, that Trump has is to use tariffs to spur companies to forego foreign goods and return manufacturing to America's shores. But many economists do not see this as possible due to the fact that it's just not an easy transition. I mean, this is years and years of developing manufacturing overseas and all that other stuff. Now, data suggests that the U.S. economy is not ready for a wholesale shift to manufacturing due to the fact that it would take years to transition, a long time. It took years to get these foundations under wraps. So you can see why the story is still developing. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for you. One goal: to keep you informed. Folks, if you don't get up this early and you want to check the show, I do upload it to the website on our YouTube page on Mondays. So if you don't get up this early, you can check out the show on the website on the screen, and you can check it out on Mondays, early Mondays. Story number 7: American businesses change the world to face a tariff wrath. How did that happen? Reuters has a headline focusing on how businesses are sounding the alarm because Trump's tariffs, his chaos, is hitting the economy. Now, this is due to the fact that American businesses have shaped the world when it comes to innovation and creativity, and government policy really shapes and limits how they can maneuver and shaping the world. Now, the report explains how Delta Air is sounding the alarm on how corporate and consumer travel is weakening. Now, what has this story trending is the fact that 900 companies have discussed the downside to tariffs, but if Trump isn't listening, if he is listening, that remains the top concern. Now, so far, it appears that Trump's thinking is that in the long run, tariffs will force businesses to shift operations back to America, therefore bringing more businesses back with which will probably take a lot of time. That's why it's number 7 almost made it to the top 2 this week. Well, I almost made it to the top this week. Big B. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that I made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you want to show the show some support, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program, or you can stop by the store at 5648 Market Street in Bourbon, Ohio, and see my smiling face. Story number 8. Will the tariff card work? That's the biggest question. After a sad day of stock trading, Trump now has just about everyone's attention due to his tariff war. Wiped out some people's early retirement plans. Wow. Reuters has a piece published March 12th explaining how Trump is defending his tariff war even after a rough week in stocks, and a lot of businesses and people are just not happy about this whole transitioning, especially tariffs and all the fact that he sent his stocks going crazy. Now, after a business roundtable, businesses are pushing for an end to Trump's tariff war. Now, the report goes on to explain how a stock sell-off followed, and I just went wild from there. Now, in the process, Trump continues to defend his tariff plan, while in the process speaking with about 100 CEOs in what appears to be a hard stance to bring business cash flow back in America's economy. Folks, this story is still developing. This is story made it to the top this week. We're talking money and businesses. And we need money. We need love. We need customers, and that's how business goes on. Well, folks, those are top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of the research. As usual, I like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the man in the middle navigating your stories just to keep people informed. If you do want the show to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Bourbon, Ohio, and see my smiling face. Well, folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories, Laura willing, just to keep you informed. Happy St. Patrick's Day if you do celebrate it. I am out of here. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.